Good evening everyone, this is RX05 Gigan bringing you another review. Now before I proceed, there's a few things I want to cover beforehand. The first being that by the end of this review, if you decide to go down to the bottom of the comment section and post and beg that you want the figure in this review, expect no reply and to be blocked. I am applying this red tape policy because in my Monster Arts Godzilla 64 review, I had one person begging to buy my figure for $25 and I gave him a list of places to get it, so that was a big no-no. The second thing I want to cover is that my reviews, instead of going with the popular trend of the newly released figures, unless if I get mine first hand and there are hardly any reviews of that newly released figure, I'll mainly be covering figures that A, are often overlooked, or 2, figures that are extremely rare or just very hard to get, like tonight's figure. And the figure that we will be looking at tonight is extremely rare and highly sought after by certain collectors. And here it is, the Ultra-Act Golza. What you're seeing is basically not only the most expensive figure in the line, where it wasn't originally, but also probably the rarest. You'll have better luck finding Garuda, the Monster Arts Garuda for Mechagodzilla 93, than this guy. I am being serious. The last time I looked up on Mandarake where I got this one from, it was the only one there, and ever since not a single one has popped up. And in the meantime there are 3 Garuda and weapons packs for Monster Arts on there. Yeah, well, I'll cover that near the end of the review of exactly why it is. So let's dive in and let's take a look at the detail, and it is just really good, as expected of Tamashii Nations. Now, just to be clear, I've never seen Ultraman Tiga, so I don't really have a lot of Ultraman knowledge, so I can't really say if this is suit accurate or not. But nonetheless, just look at that. A really nice texture there, really nice. And then we come down to the arms and shoulders. And then of course the hands, which have really well done ridges. Love that, it's like a skeletal hand. And then we come to the chest and main body. Now, just for the record, those are not what you may think they are not. Now, one of the things that attracted me to this figure is the design. Because Golza's design just stands out to me because of all the different textures on it. Like, got the molten crust-like texture here, and then in contrast you've got like this rubbery texture here. And it's really well captured on this. Let's see, let's go down to the legs and feet. No. Really well done there. I like all the creases. One thing about the Ultra-Act Kaiju figures, aside from Red King, is that they do quite well when capturing some of the wrinkles in the suits, I've noticed. This is especially evident with the Ellie King. Oh. And then the really long tail. It's so long that when you get this you actually have to attach part of it because it's so long. It puts the tails of all the Monster Arts and some of the other Ultra-Act Kaiju to shame. Just look at how long this thing is. And this is rather interesting. because you've got this really great big fat sausage bit, and then it goes all the way down to this tiny little bit here, which, I mean, it's hard plastic, it's not going to break, but due to how thin it is, you may just want to keep that in mind. Let's see. Oh yeah. Here's another thing I really love about this figure. Look at that. Got this great big flubbery piece under here, which is great and really handy for when you're doing the whole articulation with the head, which I'll get to in one moment. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. Oh yeah, the paint. Another reason why I was attracted to this figure. There's variety, let me put it that way. Very common with all kaiju, what I've noticed, so they usually have 1 or 2 paint features. But with Golza, I think you've got 3 or 4. And once again, it's been really well captured here. You've got a nice mix of reds running down the main body, as you can see there. A wonderful blue. I don't know if you can see it, but there's also tiny little hints of green in the paint too, which help flesh it out. Oh, there we go. Just see it there. And then you've got these parts, which are a very nice type of dark green. I'm not sure what name it is, but then in between these segments they also put even darker green in there, which is really well done. It helps flesh it out a lot. That very same colour is also added to the shoulders, which is a very nice mix of it's like a yellowish green, and then there's a few, it's like if someone rubbed a tiny bit of dark grey on it and then put some yellow onto it, which adds a very nice effect. However, due to the fact that this figure wasn't exactly brand new when I got it, there have been a few paint scratches on it. I mean, nothing like nothing irritating to the eye, but it's just noticeable if you have a really trained eye. Hang on, I noticed one on one of these silver pellet things earlier. Hang on. I don't know if it's lighting, but I can't see it, but I do know for a fact that there is one there somewhere. And also, there are quite a few other paint scratches, but they're really not noticeable on this thing. So yes, like with a lot of the other Tamashii Nations kaiju, this is extremely well done. And again, since I haven't seen Ultraman T, I have no idea if it's too accurate or not, but I would not be surprised if this is almost dead on. And now for the articulation. Let's see. Got the mouth that opens and shuts here. And also, due to it being on a ball joint, it can actually do the whole side to side thing, if you can see it. Unfortunately, unlike Godzilla, you can't make it stay that way as soon as you close it, which is a little bit of a shame, because otherwise you would have been able to make funny derpy faces with it. Oh, one thing I kind of forgot to cover on the paint. Now, the eyes. Oh boy. As you can see on this side, it looks absolutely perfect. But on the other side, it's looking up. And while it's not a huge problem, it is noticeable and it is slightly distracting. Yeah, oh well, you can't win them all. So yeah, back to the articulation. Now here, the neck can go up and down as well as side to side. And again, that neck flap feature is really cool. Makes it look organic, which is really nice. I don't know if the suit had this, but still, I really still dig that touch. And then you got the arms. The shoulders can go up and down, like so. And they can also go in and out. I'm only going to do the one arm because basically the other one has exactly the same articulation. And then you got the upper portion of the arm which can swivel. You got the bicep that can go up and down as well as side to side. And then you got the hands. Now there is a difference between the articulation in the hands of these figures and the ones to Monster Arts. The Monster Arts ones, they don't have these swivel ball joints, and while that kind of preserves the sculpt, that really hinders like the movement on the Godzilla figure. Whereas with the Golza, the Gamora and the Yellow King, I'm not sure if the Red King has one, but it's actually really nice here because it can not only go up and down, but it can also go a full 360. Meaning you can have your Golza do something like this. Yeah. So that's really cool. Hang on, if I could just, there we go. And then we come down to the legs. And these are really smooth compared to the typical stiff articulation you'll find on most of the Monster Arts ones. Another major difference between these figures and the Monster Arts ones, I noticed that the articulation on the Ultra-Act figures in general is just a lot more friendly. You don't really get stiff areas that are probably rendered immovable by the sculpts. So yeah, as you can see, you can go up and down just about. There. Then you got the knee, which can do that, swivel from side to side and go up and down. And then there's the foot, which can also go up and down and from side to side. Very smooth, like I said. And the leg has the same articulation, so I'm not going to go over that. And then there's a tail. Unlike the Monster Arts figures, both this and the Gamora figure, instead of having like a cutaway segment, say for every few inches, instead you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 great big segments here. And in a way, it's a lot more easier to maneuver these, I think, than with some of the other figures. At the same time though, it is a bit tougher. As you can see, the tail goes from side to side and it can go up and down. So while it can move a bit easier than some of the Monster Arts ones, at the same time it is also a bit harder due to how wide these segments are. And that is one thing to watch out for. And no, it's not the crotch. This here, you can see this skin segment is extremely loose. And if you look closely, you can see a gap there. Now what concerns me is that, and the Gamora also has this problem, is that the tail can come out pretty easily if you mess around with it a bit too much. And due to how loose this is, it doesn't help. See, it's, even if you try and push it in, like so, it's still extremely loose, which is rather unfortunate. Let's see if there's anything else. Oh yeah, it is pointless, but there is some here anyway. The upper part of the body can, well, slightly turn, but there's absolutely no point because as soon as you try and turn it in one direction, it retracts to its original position. So there you have it on the articulation front. Very good all around, very good. Let's get there. And like with the other Ultra-Act Kaiju, this thing does come with at least 2 extras or accessories. The first is a tiny little ship, which to my understanding is called the Guts Wing 2. I think it's the, well, it's basically the second version of the flagship Science Patrol, that belongs to the Science Patrol. Sorry, in the Ultraman Tiga series. Again, I'm just saying this because that's what I think, and I don't know if that's actual fact because, as I mentioned several times, never seen the series, so please do correct me if I'm wrong. And then the other one is a projectile, which is very well done and very practical. No stands required. All you got to do is just see this segment here. All you got to do is just swivel it. There you go. And then just plop this one in like so. There you go. Very cool. And very neat, because as I said, no stand, no mess, no fuss. Looks like a star actually, quite funny. As with most of the energy effects that come with these figures, it's moulded out of translucent plastic. I don't know if I can just... There we go. Let's see. Yeah. The same sculpting process that went on the rest of the head went onto this little segment here, which is very appreciated. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's also a hint of white in the pink also, which helps make it stand out. Okie dokie. And now on to the final bit of this review, which I loosely covered at the start. This figure was a Tamashii web exclusive that was released in 2011, I believe. And Bluefin didn't exactly get around to importing web exclusives by that point. They only started back in 2012 with Little Godzilla from Monster Art. But even so, they couldn't quite acquire some of the Ultra-Act figures because there was some distribution issue or something. But because of this, and a lot of pre-2011 web exclusives, by the time people found out about this, it was too late to order it. And ever since, this has become the most elusive and most desired figure in the entire Ultra-Act line. Last year I got mine off of Mandarake prior to Christmas, and I was very lucky to do so. As I mentioned, ever since I've not seen a single one pop back up on Mandarake since. And I got it for a decent price too. I think I got mine for something like 60 to 65 quid, whereas nowadays if you're lucky to find one, do not expect it to be under $100. I remember being curious and browsing the American Amazon once to find a Golza on there for $250. Yeah, a brand new Ultra-Act Golza pretty much goes for those sorts of prices nowadays, which is rather unfortunate. And unfortunately, Tamashii Nations, they never, to my knowledge, never reissue web exclusives, so if you ever want to try and find one of these, which I imagine you might be intrigued to try, so I say all the luck in the world to you, and I really hope you do find one like I did. It is ridiculous. I've got two other Tamashii Nations figures which are almost in the exact same rarity state as this Golza. One being the Robot Damashii Evangelion Unit 0, and the other one being the Super Robot Chochokin Mazin Kaiser Skull, which goes for between 200 and 400 in either dollars or pounds the last time I checked, so I was very lucky to get those two when I was in Japan. So overall, this is my third favourite figure ever, but it's not without its faults, like with the tail and of course the eyes once again. Although it's not really a huge issue, they can all be looked over or adjusted, so it's not really a huge problem. Yeah. And unfortunately, Golza was the last Ultra-Act Kaiju to have decent articulation without compromising the sculpt. I got the Red King and I detest it. I was initially excited at first, but then after trying to mess around with it for a little while, not only did its cut up sculpt really stick out, but also those bloody swappable hands. Jesus Christ. Alright, so yeah, enough of Red King, back to Golza. Fantastic figure, and if you are ever fortunate enough to try and or find one at a decent price, do not hesitate to get it. Do not. It is simply fantastic all around. I have not thought up a rating system yet, so like I said, because of all the awesomeness that this figure holds, it is my third favourite, and definitely hands down the best kaiju in the Ultra-Act line. Well, that is it for this evening's rambling. I hope you've enjoyed, and I will be seeing you in the next review. Bye bye.